Thanks for coming, guys. It's really casual and it's going to be really fun. So, if the title was sticking around sweet people, and what did it say something about like how serving with like-minded leaders helped me my work and chocolate business? So, if you came because you saw the word sweet and chocolate and that's what you're hoping for, you will partially get that. But you are on the right, you're on the right track because if you want something, you go to where that something is. So, if you want to be around like-minded leaders, you find those people, you go to where they are, which is why they found how you kind of found your way here, right, to Echelon. And if you want to, get to know the Lord better, you spend more time in Word and prayer. If you want to serve, you go and find people who are volunteering. And so I wanted to just hang around sweet people. So that's why I'm like still involved with Echelon because they mentioned I was a founding board member 8 years ago. And who sticks with something volunteering for 8 years is if you love the people that you're with, like Wendy over here. I got to serve with her too. And so that's really why what I was going to talk about today was how important it is who we choose to spend our time with. And so I really value that you guys even sat here with me today so thank you for being here. And it's like a lot of scientific research talks about your social groups that really affect your physical, mental, spiritual, emotional, even financial health. And so it's a really big deal who you spend your time with. And so I was going to give you a really easy analogy on how to remember this it's going to involve chocolate-ish. So I'm just going to spell, and you can write this down if you have notepad or whatever, or your phone too. So I'm just going to go through Choco, an acronym to help you remember how to stick around sweet people. Okay. So C is choose with intention or choose wisely. And so it's funny that Clifton brought up middle school kids because one of the attendees said, can you please talk about something we shouldn't do? I was like, okay, so something in middle school, when I was in middle school, I was like, this is juicy, but I didn't know it's gonna be recorded. So don't post this, Lisa. But in middle school, I had a really good group of friends coming from elementary. And when we got to middle school, it's kind of a really rough middle school. And so there were benches and gangs. And I quickly was like, I don't want to get beat up. So I'm going to make friends with the gangs. That was my strategy. So I went to go make friends with a group so that I wouldn't get beat up. And I'd hang out with them and I'd hang out with my other friends. But what you don't realize, right, is when you're hanging around people, after a while, you start being influenced by them or peer pressured with them. And so they had access to cigarettes, alcohol, drugs. And I actually got into that in middle school because of the people that I was hanging around. And they were actually going to get into some harder drugs. And it just so happened that one of the girls that was my really good friend in that group said, enough already. I'm out. I'm going to find a different group. And it was because of her, as a leader in my life, that I kind of said, oh, we're not going to go there. Okay. And so I kind of chose to kind of branch off too. And so it's just really important. Like you don't even realize if you don't make an intentional effort on who you're going to hang out with, you're just going to get whatever is going around in that group. Right. And so that's kind of just like the tie-in to just starting with choose wisely. And then I was going to talk about 3 of the 4 people in here. So we're going to talk about Clifton first because I've known him the longest.
Yeah.
Are you recording that I'm talking about them too? I'm going to turn off the mic. I was like, okay, where's my... So first one, C, is choose. So choose wisely, choose with intention, the people you're going to hang around with and the people that matter to you. Hi, thanks for coming. So H is, I'm just going to put have a plan. Okay, so Clifton, have a seat, Nico. Clifton, when we were founding this group called Echelon, they asked me if I knew any young professionals that loved the Lord and loved work. And I was like, Clifton. I met Clifton like 15 years ago in church. He's like a brother now because it's been so long. But I knew he loved the Lord and he had a lot of faith. And so I said, oh, do you want to come and join this group? And as we got to know each other, I realized how you probably see this. He's so strategic. He's so structured. He's so organized. He's so on it. And so when I was the chair, I was about casting vision, where we're going to be. Let's recruit people. Let's get everybody excited about this group called Echelon. And then Clifton was the chair next. And it was like strategic because he came on next and he planned everything. And he was like, how are we going to get there? What's the dates? What are the steps? You know this, right? What is the structure? And he's introducing the EOS, entrepreneurial operating system, and these things that he's learning at work. And so I was sitting there going, oh my gosh, this is like what I'm not doing. I'm good at the vision part, but I'm not good at explaining to my team at work how we're going to get there. What are some deadlines? What are some steps? So just hanging around somebody like him gave me that insight to having structure. And he also wants people's buy-in. So he would ask us, he actually said, we're going to have a strategic planning meeting. And I was like, what is where we're going to once a year get together, we're going to talk about where we're going with Echelon. We're going to build this escalator. And so, I mean, just hanging around somebody that's totally different from you like that, who has a plan and has faith. You know, he had faith in what I saw, but he had the plan. And so now in my work, I also do both. So I'll share the vision. I'll get everybody excited about what specials we're going to make for chocolate, what events we're going to do. But then I'm also, you know, now I know there's people going, oh, how's this going to happen? And so now I know I have to say, okay, and here's the plan. And it's not my strength, but in the meantime, are any of you entrepreneurs or small business owners? You are? Oh, see, do you have a big group, a big team? Yeah. So sometimes you're doing it all and you're the operator. And then other times I am fortunate enough to find somebody else who has that strength and they can make the plan. So have faith, have a plan, and stick around sweet people like Cliff did. Okay. O is for observe and serve. So see, I'm just doing the old school style. No script. They said it doesn't work anyway. So I was like, oh, good. My paper works. It's so funny because when I look at the word observe and you take away the OB and serve, I didn't mean to do that on purpose, but observe and serve, I want to tell you how I met Tati. So Tati is the current chair. And I read the word every morning. I read the Bible. And for a period of time, I would post on my social stories the scripture I read. That's it. I would just be like, you know, go through it. I'll just be like, oh, know the plans I have for you, cares Lord, plan, blah, 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 blah. Story, post. That's it. I don't know who was watching it. I don't know if anybody cares, but that was my content. And I didn't know that Tati was watching and she was observing what I was posting. And then she's like, what is this girl doing? She's in this group called Echelon. She started researching Echelon. Did any of you do that? I was really impressed. She was like researching Echelon. Are you already involved, Shannon, in Echelon?
Yes.
Oh, with the Honolulu or? Nice. So, you know, she's like researching what this is. And then she signs herself up. And we're like, oh my gosh, we have a member that just like signed. Who is this? Does anybody know who this is? And then she just starts showing up to events and starts serving. Getting her hands. I want to help the people. And I was like, who is this girl? And I love her. So I want to get to know her. And, you know, she got involved by just watching and then jumping in and serving, not knowing anything else. And I just saw her more and more as a leader. And I was like, this, you know, a typical leader that you kind of envision is standing up in the front, speaking, very charismatic, very like, you know, like the CEOs and the organizations you see in the faces of businesses. And that's not Tati. She'd run away from the camera. She wouldn't even want people to know what she was doing. She's just like, you just can't find her. She's doing the work. She's serving. And the more I worked with her, the more I admired her. And I said, oh my gosh, this girl is a leader. And so she really showed me how leaders look different. You know, like sometimes we forget that the people that we work with are very capable, but they're not going to lead in the way we think that they're going to lead or how they should lead, but they might lead by example through serving. And so that could even be you thinking like, well, I am not that kind of person, so I could never be, because that's probably her speech is, I never thought I would be chair. Or I never thought I would be okay speaking in front of people. Now she's a fantastic speaker. She is a fantastic leader. And she came into Echelon without that kind of confidence, but she just served. She did what she could do and what she did well and what drove her. And so I just say, observe other people and then jump in and serve. Observe and serve and stick around sweet people like Tati. So you guys are already in good company. You're learning about these people. And I was like, you're going to want to be like, Oh my gosh. Like I tell you, I just, when they say, when can you come speak? I was like, is it just to hang out with you? Yes. Yes. Whatever. Because I really love these people. So CHOC. So C, we're gonna talk about Lisa. I can't really talk about Lana because she's right there. C is to challenge. And I'll say challenge yourself to give generously. So Lisa's the one that I've known the shortest, and I know the least. But after Echelon, I became part of the Salvation Army Advisory Board. So it's kind of, I guess that's just how it pipelined. I went from chair to advisor to the board. And I met this guy named Jimmy Yamato. And he was just, everybody loved Jimmy on the board. They were like, he's so generous, he's so well respected, he's a businessman in the community, he's a great humble servant. And there was just Jimmy, Jimmy, Jimmy. And then he brought on his daughter Lisa to get involved in Echelon. So how I heard of Lisa was Jimmy's daughter. Okay. And when I met Lisa, I was like, holy cow, this girl's a giant. Like she sits on the shoulders of her dad, like as a giant. She sits on the shoulders of the giants, like her dad. But she brings her own. Like I've never seen anyone, like when I walked in today, it was the same thing. I walked in, I was like, there's mics, there's photographers, there's video, there's like this, there's food, there's free pastries, there's free coffee. I know they don't have money. They're a nonprofit that's always, like trying to raise stuff. But I know that somehow, all of a sudden, when Lisa was coming on board, I would just see all these resources come in, and I'm like pretty sure she's just giving, or she is hustling to get other people to help give. And so that generosity was just so infectious that I'm like, want to empty my pockets. When you're around people who just give, 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 you're like, how do I make more so I can give more? And she just spurs that in you, as well as she did a talk at a school for the Red Pencil Project, that flagship project. And it was my first time hearing her speak, and I noticed she left her shoes in the back of the cafeteria, and I was like, oh my gosh, she took off her shoes. So I was like, this is weird. And so Lisa goes in the front and she's talking and talking, and she's using an illustration of people in need. So she took off her shoes and I was just like, she included humor, and she tied into the kids, and the kids were like, here's my shoes, you can have my shoes. And I was like, what a crazy effective communicator. But she like took off her shoes and found a way to tie in with them. She's not shamed. She can communicate, and she gives of herself, and she's so generous. And so that C just reminds me to challenge myself, because she makes me like want to up my game on speaking, on giving. And so C is to challenge yourself, give generously, and stick around sweet people like Lisa. And then the last one, O, this is crazy. I have 15 minutes. Okay, it's almost over. Own your gifts. So own your God-given gifts. I want to encourage you guys that it's hard that sometimes people are like, I don't really know what I'm good at, and like somebody else does. So when they were founding Echelon, they said, will you come on and create this young professional group for the Salvation Army? I want you to be a board member. I thought, why? Don't have a big business. I don't have a lot of money. Maybe you guys are like me. You have no political connections. You're not in any parties. You have no, you don't know any executives. You don't know any CEOs. I don't even have nonprofit experience, and I don't sit on boards. So it was like, why, right? And I said yes in a leap of faith, because it was a faith-based organization. I love the mission. Okay. And then hope. So I asked them why, and they said, you have vision, and we need somebody as an entrepreneur who can see something that nobody else can see, help paint that for other people, recruit them and get them on board, and do that. So even in my business now, I'm like, I see that's where my role is, and I'm like, oh, so my time and attention should be spent on creating the new products, creating the content, engaging with customers, getting to let people see where we're going with our mission of bringing peace to our world, one chocolate at a time. And so Echelon and serving actually helped me to find my gift, own it in my business, and then find all the other sweet people who can do everything else because I can't. And that's where I will end. And thank you guys for coming.